All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. So markets here, lots of whipsaw and really all over the map, though, for the most part. Well, 2 out of the 4 indices are going to finish green or at least close. NASDAQ and S&P. S&P barely scratching out a gain right now. The NASDAQ is up about 1/3%. The Dow down about 1/4, and the Russell, big loser on the day. We're seeing IWM take a big hit, and a lot of that has to do with the KRE there. But in any case, CPI coming in hotter than expected. Now, it's not like it was ridiculously hot, right? It was 3.7 versus 3.6. But it does represent an increase, and it's kind of 2 months in a row now that CPI has gone up. It's debatable whether or not you want to call it last month went up or not. And of course, those numbers are definitely not accurate. But in any case, it did go up, so that is kind of raising inflation concerns, which are not unfounded if you ask me. That should not move the needle for next week, right? Remember, we have the FOMC, and it's probably not going to move the needle. It's not like it was like 4% or 4.1% versus 3.7. It was 3.6 versus it was 3.7 actual versus 3.6. So it's not like, oh my God, it's crazy out of control. It's just a slight uptick from what was expected, but it is it is an increase, and I think the last one was 3.1, and the one before that was 3. And now we're at 3.7. So one of the things they're going to do, I think, to spin it is a lot of the biggest increase was in gasoline. So a spin could be, we're at the end of driving season now, so it doesn't matter. So it's just going to come back down. Either way, we don't really care here. All we care about is the market's reaction. And it was a whipsaw day, right? So again, we talked about this yesterday. We talked about it all week long. It's quarterly OPEX. We're not looking for big moves right now, and we should stay in this range, and that has happened. In fact, this morning we had some put covering right off the bat. Called that out in our Discord this morning. Said, look, we should mean revert here. Look for 45.12 at least on the downside. We cut through that. And then I said, look here, we'll probably put in a low around 4,500 ES. And again, look for 45.12 on the upside. They went through that and actually floated up a little bit higher. And then we faded, and now we're just getting a little bit of bounce. Again, they're just killing directional buyers, right? So whether your puts or longs are going to kill you. So again, that's why I've said expect to be inside of this range here, 44.50. In fact, on the SPX, it's actually a little bit lower than that, I think. Yeah, so 44.30 to 4,500, we'll call it. So we'll see what we get here tomorrow. But lots of whipsaw. We have the FOMC next week. I think we could see some more actual volatility next week. But again, we'll talk about that info when we get there. Again, we just got to get through this week here. And I think we'll see a little bit more of a directional play. But again, upside, again, you get through 448.51 on a close. You can get to 450 intraday, and then if you get through 450, it's 453.50. And then through this low, that opens the door for a lot more downside. I think, possibly at least to 435, maybe even 430. But again, we're not there yet. And again, just waiting for this week to be over, honestly. Triple Qs, again, we watched this yesterday, little trend line, kind of hit it, not really. If you look at an hourly, it didn't really quite get there. Maybe by the way, SPY pays dividend on Friday, so just be aware of that. I know the futures here have this big gap too, so that may need to get filled as well. But again, triple Qs are hanging in there. We take this trend line out, then you got to take out this green bar. But I think you take this out, you probably go down here to that 100 moving average. And this area, and then 380 obviously is your upside. Again, nothing's changed here. I'm repeating myself constantly because we're not moving. So Russell was weak, though. We talked about that. Down about almost 0.75%. Again, hammering on this trend line. That is a valid head and shoulder, right? So there's nothing invalid about that. You got to trigger it, though. I would say a weekly close below this would probably do it, because you can make a case that's a weekly pattern too. If you do that, it's not good for small caps, not good for banks. So just be aware of that. But, it's holding on right now. I don't expect it to break today. Dow here, again, still stuck in this ping pong range. Let's not make too much out of that. Semiconductors here up 71 basis points. Again, NVIDIA probably going to be a 450 pin. Look at Broadcom, 850. You think they're going to pin it there? Probably. Let's look at AMD. Nothing crazy on AMD. Maybe a 105 to 110 pin. Intel not doing anything. But in any case, SMH right at the 150 handle, right? These whole round numbers, this is kind of what happens here. So we're not expecting any sort of big move here. But the semis are on the softer side, and they are leading tech to the downside too. Right now, you have a down move here, and you can make a case this is bearish consolidation on the 4 hour, and you still have that red bar, right? So that's an inside bar there. Probably wants to go down and test this trend line and possibly that 100 MA. So that's a weak sector right now. Definitely listen to that when it talks to you. IGV, strong sector. Look at Oracle. You knew they were going to bounce this, right? I mean, it closed off the lows pretty nicely yesterday. Pretty good reversal there for ORCL. And IGV flat to positive. Okay, let's not make a lot out of it. We take out these moving averages. You take out this pivot. Then you could have downside again to 340. Possibly that trend line finally. Again, we never quite got there. It always bugs me a little bit, so I would have liked to at least test that trend line, but we never quite got there. And if you take this out, you could have lower highs too. So just, keep that on your radar. But yeah, IGV flat to positive today. Transports here, managing to scratch out a gain as well. Holding that 100 MA, nice little doji kind of spinning top look with volume. That might be a short-term bottom here. Again, short-term, right? So 15.5, 15.6 on the upside. Take a look at the Jets. This has me a little intrigued here. I would like a gap down in this tomorrow. That would get a little interesting here into this trend line on the JETS. Maybe for a move back to 19. Could be something to watch. If we gap down, I won't chase it. But yeah, nice little trend line there. And again, obviously that makes up a big portion of the DJT. If you get oil to come in a little bit, that could be a tailwind there for transports as well. Oil is a little extended. We'll talk about that in a second. But in any case, transports holding that area for now. Okay. Interest rates. All right, 2 year. Again, back below 5%. Look, a lot of chop, right? A lot of sideways action. But, bottom line is we get above this level here, just say 5.12, 5.12. There's going to be problems in the market. That's really that simple. 5 year holding up, this level would be your big level there. But again, it's really all about the 2 year for me. 10 year making a slight new, not new high, but slight new intra 3 week high or so, then pulling back there. But again, it's not like this is a bloodbath reversal, right? It's still holding up really nicely. 30 year, same thing, a little pullback, but nothing crazy. So again, yields continue to hold up. They continue to be strong. And again, I'm not betting against them. So XHB down 1.1, pretty good dump there. That probably wants to retest 78. And that 100 MA. If you get through that, then it's down to this purple line, which I do think eventually happens. VNQ, a little bit of a rollover. I'd say that probably wants 78 here. We'll have to see what the weekly close looks like. But definitely a little bit of a soft section there. If it turns around by the end of the week, then it can get up to 84. We'll leave it at that. KBWB. So I'm going to cover this more often here. That was down 1% on the day. I don't like this pattern at all. I don't like the banks right now, especially like Bank of America. That doesn't look very strong. JPM, not too strong here. Goldman and Morgan Stanley have definitely shaped up a little bit here. Citi is shaped up a little bit. I think they had some news this morning. Wells a little bit, but these are not great patterns here. Again, looking at KBE and KRE, these are not great patterns either. So I do think these have to have one more push down. Maybe not right away. Again, it's quarterly up next week. I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face, but it matters. So that's why I'm saying it. But as far as the patterns, I don't like them, just so you guys know. Do whatever you want with it. All right, XHB down about 0.5%. That could still get to 510. If it rolls over, 485 will be support. Crude here holding up, down 9 cents. It's really rich. It's overbought. I don't have a sell signal on it, though. The only thing I have is weekly red bar high, and the trend is up and it's holding up. So this is why when you get above these weekly levels and close above them, you can get overbought. I see people saying, oh, like crude's gonna, short crude. I'm not saying you can't, but just be aware, like it can get overbought when you get above a weekly level and a monthly level. You're above the 20-month moving average now too. So just be careful shorting it. I think 94, 95 is a way better risk reward. I can't fault you for starting it here, but for a trade, but certainly can't go long at this level. But again, it's hanging in there. We'll see how it reacts if and when it gets to 90. XLE, a lot of choppiness, but again, still trending up. That looks like it wants double top. I don't know if it'll go there right away. But yeah, strong price action. XOP, that looks like daily consolidation to me. That's still strong. OIH, outside move down 2.2. So we'll see if that maybe is put in a high. Not enough volume for me to really say yes on that. We'll see how it reacts at around 345 if and when it gets there. CCJ here coming in off the highs a little bit. That had a nice little pop today though. Still really rich. URNM is very rich too. You're going parabolic now. Just be aware of that. I'm not saying it can't go higher, but I would not commit new capital to this right now. Nat gas all over the map today, but all things considered, inside hammer. Another area, another pattern I'm watching too, is this little wedge here. So if this can kind of consolidate a little bit and pull back and push through that, then 286 and $3 are your big levels on the upside there. And then obviously this lower area would be your kind of trend line support there, as well as the bigger trend line support, which is to me a big fat ascending triangle. So still got that weekly base there and still just coiling and coiling and coiling. All right, dollar index, again, kind of like yields, pulling back a little bit, but it's actually still green on the day. This is a pullback now on the dollar. But in any case, you know, there's nothing wrong with this, right? So it's coming off the highs. And if we look at intraday, you know, the market kind of recovered from the initial knee-jerk reaction down on the CPI, and the dollar sold off initially. And then look, it's coming right back up. So dollar's still strong. That's still a bull flag until proven otherwise. You know, if that bakes in the oven a little bit longer, that can go to 106. I still expect that to happen. So dollar's still holding up. It's another thing I wouldn't bet against right now. Gold hanging in there, okay, down 20 basis points. Again, nothing has changed here. This has been in a range for a while. I still favor 1900. I think it needs to test that again. Silver starting to slip just a little bit. Could be putting in a bear flag here to go lower. It's got to hold 2250. Otherwise, it's 21. I'm rooting for that, by the way. And then platinum here stuck at 900. I think that's setting up for a move lower as well. Palladium, a little bit of a bid here. Nothing to make out of that. And then copper, trying to consolidate that move. Not a terrible look there. If this can flag a little bit longer, let's say that can get back up to 388 or so. But again, it's a little bit of a premature pattern there, so we won't make too much out of it yet. And then lastly, Bitcoin here. I'm just stuck in that 26,000 area. Back above the 20 MA. See if it can close above that. I would give Bitcoin the upside bias here to probably that 50 moving average right now, potentially. I don't think it's quite ready to break down. But again, like I've been saying, the longer it stays inside of this weekly inside bar, the weaker the pattern gets, and the more likely we go down to 21.5. So simple stuff there. All right, so markets close in a few minutes. And we should close right in this range here. Probably right around 44.65, which is where we are right now. It's basically where we closed yesterday, right? There we were yesterday. A few pennies above that. Let's not make too much out of it. Ready for this week to be over. And we should be able to get out of this range soon. Obviously, I think it's to the downside seasonally. But we'll talk about that more when we get there. So anyways, guys, going to wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me at carnivoretrades.com. Talk to you guys all tomorrow.